Welcome to a new video! Today I'm going to share with you my Fluffal deck profile. Now Fluffal is a really cool OTK deck that actually I wouldn't think that a fusion deck like this will be able to OTK at first glance, but when you look at the cards and when you play with it, you will really understand how the deck goes. Now, surprisingly, Fluffal's got a new cards of support in Burst of Destiny, which if you already know what card I'm talking about, write in the comments down below. I see the future as part of your comments, so we'll see how many people actually know what card I'm talking about that help the consistency of the deck. But before I jump right into the video itself, I'm going to remind you that if you want to see more videos like this, please consider hitting the subscribe button. It's help a ton. Let me know in the comments down below what do you think, what will you change of your list, if you like to run this deck as like the Scythe combo going first, or like to put the Scythe in the side for going second like I do for games 2 and 3, and also give a like if you enjoyed. But without further ado, let's jump right into the video itself. Alright, so for the list itself, I'm just going to say right now that this is just the going second version, like, you know, in the main deck. I'm playing the going second version basically for game 1 most of the time, because I feel like this version can just catch people off guard, and like, the deck is mostly strengthed for OTK. However, in the side deck, I do have the Scythe engine that's basically help us going first, which we'll talk about that when we'll get to it. Also to mention, the other reason why I don't play Scythe in the main is just because, you know, pretty soon we might going to see Scythe in the ban list, so at the very least I'm just going to prepare the deck for going second, and if we'll lose that one condition, it'll just change the side deck to suit some other matchups as well, so that's my reason for that one. But now let's jump right into the list itself. So starting things off with the Fluffal monsters first, we'll start off with the multiple ones. 3 penguin, 3 dog, and then 2 bear. These are the only ones that you run at multiples. Penguin and dog are amazing. Basically, penguin is your free special summon from hand. Every single time it hits the field, as like a soft once per turn on like each copy. So once in this card is face up on the field, you can special summon any Fluffal monster from your hand except itself. So yeah, this is a really good card. And then, of course, if it's used for a fusion summon, as a hard once return for a frightful monster and sent to the graveyard, you get to draw 2, discard 1, which making the card absolutely amazing. It's also a water, so it works with totally awesome. You have to play 3 of this card. This card is amazing. And we actually have a new way to search this card, which we'll talk about it. Next up, we have Dog. Dog is just your searcher of the archetype for any Fluffal monster and Egypt Sabers specifically. Not any Egypt, just Egypt Sabers, which is kinda dumb, but, you know, it is what it is. But I would mention that one thing that a lot of people forget is that this effect can only be activated when normal special summoned from the hand. One of the stupidest things that they did with the old Fluffal monsters is that if you don't special summon them or normal summon them from hand, their effect will not activate, which is really stupid. And then lastly, Bear, of course, to get access to Toy Vendor. Sometimes we do need an access to Toy Vendor from deck, so having that option is really nice. Also to mention the fact that sometimes you just summon this, tribute this, and grab back a polymerization. There's really no much to explain about that. And then for your one-off Fluffal monsters, we have 1 copy of Dolphin, 1 copy of Octopus, 1 copy of Wings, 1 copy of Ship, and I also specifically like to also run 1 copy of Owl. Just because of the fact that sometimes I don't have an access to a fusion spell, and having a Fluffal monster that can grab me said fusion spell or be a fusion spell itself is really good. So again, it can only like be used when this card is no more special summon from hand. You add a polymerization, but at least if not, you can basically pay 500 life points regardless, and at least fusion summon a frightful monster using monsters from your hand or field as material for that monster. So again, if it doesn't use its effect on normal summon or special summon from hand, or at least like you special summon it from graveyard, you at least have that option in a later turn, so that's kind of cool. So that's why you don't really need to add this back to your hand ever, technically, because it's a fusion spell always. Fluffal Ship is your way to get dog back to your hand in your combos. You just get the dog back so you can use it in a later turn, and it's also a great way to get your Egypt chains out of your graveyard / to your field, link them off, and maybe get the advantage with things like Egypt chain. So Fluffal Ship is just a great extender, especially also when you get nibbed. So at least you can do something, or even before you get nibbed, you can just like, you know, extend and then end your board on something. It's just a great card overall, so the Fluffal Sheep is just a very nice card. Wings, Octopus, and Dolphin are the main cards for your Wings engine, I guess. Wings is the card that, you pop your Toy Vendor, you banish it in another Fluffal, draw another card, and then Toy Vendor search another card. However, there is no reason to run more than one because of Octopus existing. Octopus will just put these, when it's used for a fusion summon, the two materials that you use to, you banished, put them back. So you can put the Wings and the Dolphin, for example, back in your graveyard, and next turn use it all over again. Also, on top of that, when he's normal or special summoned, it's get to add any Fluffal or a Gimp monster from your graveyard. This is just regardless, it doesn't have to be from the hand, which is really good about this guy, so he's able to just recover for you any Fluffal monster if you need for the situation. The last monster, Dolphin, again, you only need to run more than one because you only need one for the combo, and because now Dolphin, the Penguin is a little bit more consistent, then there is really less need for running multiple copies of this, even though sometimes I want the second one because, now that Penguin is searchable by another card, we just grab with that card the Penguin, and then we use the Foolish Barrel get to grab this with the Toy Vendor, so there's really no need to run more than one. And it's just basically a way to set Toy Vendor to your side of the field from the graveyard, and then just send the Wings to the graveyard, which is awesome, so then you have the combo. And then which actually, when it's used for Fusion Summon, it's able to send a Fusion spell, should I say, shuffle back a Fusion or Polymerization spell from your graveyard back into your deck. I wish it was draw a card or something on top, but it's still really, really good because you are able to recycle Fusion spells to make things like Frightful Patchworks live, and maybe other searches also live. So that does it for the Fluffal monsters, a little bit more of a detailed explanations. Now for the Age Imps, we have 3 Gem Chain, 1 Engine Sabers, and then of course, again, I just run the 5th name just because sometimes I need to see it, the Scythe. Scythe is mostly just here because of the name. Sometimes if you are able to use this effect to get him to your hand and then for grind game, or when we're playing the Go first package, we sometimes just use him and another monster in hand, like a Fluffal monster in hand, summon a Cruel Whale, pop one of your cards, pop one of your opponent's cards, and there you go, you have the Scythe lock or something like that. But just in general, it's just another name. I felt like sometimes I do need the additional name to go to the Cruel Whale as an interruption. Engine Sabers, you don't need more than one. It's a recyclable card, and Chain is just your way to see your Frightful cards, which is absolutely amazing. And then for the last monster, which I didn't really have anything to think about for, I don't know, this is the 40th card that I didn't really have any idea. I just decided to throw in a Prinkratops because it's a great card for helping you break boards going second. I just felt like this is just really nice, and yeah, I just didn't really have any other idea to put instead. But that does it for the monster lineup, which is 19 monsters. Now we'll move on into the spells, and for the spells we have first off the 9 most important ones, which is 3 Toy Vendor, 3 Patchworks, and 3 Polymerization. These are the 3 most important spells in your deck, or should I say 9. Toy Vendor, you send it from your deck to graveyard or your hand to graveyard. You're trying to just get it out of your hand to grab to your hand Fluffal monsters or your Gem Sabers, which is really, really awesome. Sometimes you do use its first effect, which is pitch a card and then maybe draw something, because sometimes you can use its effect to trigger something like a Gem Chain or another card that you want to have engraved. But mostly you're just trying to get this engraved. That's kind of the entire purpose. Frightful Patchwork, amazing card, grabbing you a Polymerization and a Gimp of your choice. And Polymerization is the main fusion spell of this deck because apparently in the Arc V anime they wanted to build a lot of decks based on the vanilla Polymerization, which is this one and what are called Predator Plans and Lunalights were the most affected out of these from the new archetypes. So yeah. But this is probably the archetype that used the vanilla Polymerization the most out of all of them, combined. The 2 others combined. Regardless, now move on into the rest of the useful spells or utility spells. 2 copies of Foolish Burial Goods, 2 copies of unfortunately Proxied because I don't have it, Penguin Royal Garden, and then 1 Frightful Fusion and Frightful Repair. Now in the case of Foolish Burial Goods, I only run a 2 because I only have the space for 2, and honestly you don't really need more than 2 now because of this card existing. This card can allow you to add any Penguin card from your deck to your hand on activation. So guess what card we'll add from our deck to our hand? I cannot think about a particular Penguin card that we can add from our deck to our hand. I wonder what one that is. But anyway, seriously now, we have a way to grab now the Frightful, just a Fluffal Penguin, which is great. On top of that, this is a continuous spell, which works really, really well with your Cruel Whale, because sometimes you do need to use a continuous spell to pop itself with Cruel Whale effect or other effects. So just having this kind of a card is really, really cool. So these two are basically both at 1 because they're harder ones per turns. Then Frightful Fusion and Frightful Repair are just great cards for the combo. Or just in general, like for your combo plays. And then for the last 6 cards, we need ways to deal with our opponent's stuff. 3 Forbidden Chalice and 3 Imperm. These could be any cards that you want to. It could be 3 Nibiru's and 3 Ash for all I care, or 3 Droplets and 3 Tactical Talons. I don't know, it really depends on you. I'm trying to build this deck for people as cheaply as possible with cards in my collection, so they have the fun from playing this, and this still works really nicely. Mostly what I'm dealing with is annoying monster effects, so that's why I decided to go with these specifically. And then we're going to go into the extra deck, because now we've done with the main deck. It's 40 cards, now we can jump into the extra deck itself. So for the extra deck, we'll start with the fusion monsters, of course. 2 copies of Tiger, 2 copies of Cruel Whale, 1 copy of Sabertooth, and 1 copy of Kraken. Kraken is just here as an additional utility card, more than anything. Sabertooth is just to help you OTK, and same goes with Tiger. Like, the combo mostly for OTK is using these two, because they boost each other by like 1,000 together, which is insane. And then you also trying to also bring out Cruel Whale, which can boost your monster's original attack by like half of their original attack. So, yeah, you just like, you summon this, you try to summon this and this together, like you try to summon all 3 of these, and then Kraken is just an additional utility card to just help you deal with stuff. Cruel Whale is just also amazing. I remember back in the day when it was released, we also had the VFD combo, but now we don't really have a good rank 9 for it, unfortunately, but it's still really good to play. Frightful Tiger, I also like to play it too, because there's sometimes I just summon 1, it's get negated, but the effect is not the hard ones per turn. The only effect that is restricting this guy is that you can only control 1. So you can just link the one that you didn't use off, and then use a Frightful Fusion and Fusion Summon with your entire graveyard and pop the entire board again if your opponent doesn't have any interruption, so that is actually kind of great. And then for the Link monsters, we'll jump into those. Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, Unicorn, IP, Cross Sheep, and Verte Anaconda. Verte is here. If you want to play DPE or Dragoon, you're more than welcome to play those engines and also play with this a little bit more. This is here, in my opinion, or at least for me, for my deck specifically, because I want to sometimes send Frightful Fusion from my deck to the graveyard because I want to search something else, and then I'm just like, you know, use this to basically use my entire graveyard for a fodder with his effect, and then just OTK my opponent, which is great. Cross Sheep doesn't really need an explanation. This is a fusion deck. IP is just to help you go into these during the opponent's turn, and these are just good utility cards, which again don't need any explanation. Then for the XCs, we actually have a rank 4 toolbox with Bahamut Shark, Tornado Dragon, Dugaris, and the Totally Awesome, which is summoned from Bahamut Shark effect. So you use Bahamut Shark with your 2 level 4 waters, which are your Dolphin and your Penguin. You use them to summon this, or if you have to, you can use 2 Penguins as well, but mostly what's going to happen is Dolphin and Penguin. You summon this, and then you got yourself like a protection against Nibiru, or being able to deal with some annoying other cards, and steal them, which is great. Then we have Dugaris himself, which is helping you dig deeper into your deck, maybe even getting a discard of a card that you don't want in your hand, or you want engraved, like a Toy Vendor, or, I don't know, Chain engraved, and then you get to draw 2 fresh cards and get the search, which is really, really nice. Also helping you with OTKs as well. And then we have Tornado Dragon, which is here to help you deal with back row, and also because of the fact that, we do play the Siphon, the side deck, and all of the engine for that, and like because of that, I also just playing this here. But just in generally, it's actually not bad to have this card as a back row removal option. You could run also the Phoenix instead if you feel like that is the correct route, but I just wanted to run Tornado Dragon because I just felt like this works better for me. But that does it for the extra deck itself. Now we're actually going to talk about the side deck, what I talked about. So first off, let's move on the cards that are basically not related to that engine, to just talk about them really fastly. We have 3 Droll Lockbird, 3 Lancia, and double Twin Twisters. These are working really good for me in my meta locals, or, you know, just my pocket meta, just in general. Droll Lockbird to deal with annoying decks that search a lot. Lancia is actually kills, at least for me, everything under the sun that just use the grave or just cripple them very hard. Invoked is a good example for one. Another good example is basically like things like maybe even dinos, or some decks that just like to banish stuff because they want to use their graveyard, like maybe even PKs or stuff like that. You just basically not kill them completely, but you can maybe either kill them completely with things like Invoked or PK, but sometimes you just cripple them enough that you are able to force them not create the same powerful board that they were able to before. Like, for example, even Flanderies, you prevent them from doing some stuff, I guess. Like, in some particular cases, this can actually prevent them. Actually, Flanderies is not a good example, but you are able to prevent people from doing some banishing effects with things in graveyard, like with the Tenyi stuff, for example, with Sword Soul Tenyi. So, yeah, that's pretty great. And then for Twin Twisters, I like Twin Twister over Cyclone for this deck because I do have a lot of cards that I want to get engraved. Although Cyclone might be a better option, it honestly depends, up to you. Now, we're moving into the Scythe engines that I'm siding Game 2 and 3 because my opponent actually never expect this, or just like think maybe they can deal with this, and that is the 1 Dagda, the 1 Frightful Meissner, the 1 Artifact Scythe, the 1 Lilith, and then the 3 Necrofusion. Basically, the entire idea of this engine is that you could use a DPE instead and maybe cut this engine by 1 card, because you just need the 3 DPE, the 3 Destiny Fusion, and then this and this, or should I say like Celestial and Dasher, and basically these are just 5 cards. Actually, it will be the same size of engine. I don't know what I'm talking about. I actually miscounted. Regardless, the point is like, you could also play the DPE and actually free your extra. I can also play that in the main if you want to, which is actually that's I think what I meant. But the point is that this engine is like this. You have Dagda and the Scythe, the normal combo that you do. You just put Scythe on the field. Now the Necrofusion here is to help you bring out to your side of the field the the Cruel Well by using cards in your graveyard, and also a fusion spell during the opponent's turn, because sometimes Egium Scythe is not really the best option. So this is giving you that option. And these two are here to help you see these if you have to. You sometimes even just draw into these naturally, and these are not necessary, but if you need to, this is the point, because you use Frightful Meissner to tribute one of your Egimps, or Fluffal monsters that are level 3, exactly, and that you summon directly from your deck of Lilith because it's a Fiend level 3, so it's matched the requirements, and then Lilith will pop itself and give to your side of the field the Necrofusion, and if you also run Impermanence and you actually have this in hand already, you can just set an Impermanence to your side of the field, so that's kind of great. So that's kind of like the entire engine, how that works. You just use these as basically fodder to help you deal with, you know, just locking decks that like to go first and actually think that you will not be able to go first, and then buy yourself a turn and have, oh hey, I'm OTKing you next turn. That's kind of like the entire point. But that does it for the side deck and does it for the deck profile as a whole. Hope you enjoyed and find this pretty helpful. I really like this deck as a just nice OTK deck. Just in general, it's just really fun going second with this. Have a deck that actually have a chance going second, because this deck is very powerful if you're able to get the correct card combinations. Of course, every deck is like that, but like this deck specifically have the ability to play through multiple interruptions regardless. But if you're able to, like, for example, get a penguin plus a dog, or a penguin plus, let's say, a dolphin, or maybe even a dolphin plus a dog, like, you have full combos, you can get to your fusion spells, and it's really nice, and you're able to do some very crazy stuff, just with, like, 2 cards to break boards at, like, 4 to 5 interruptions if you're able to play your cards smartly. So, yeah, this deck is very fun, and it's one of those few going second decks that I really like. But that's pretty much does it for the deck profile as a whole. Now let's move on into the next deck choices. Alright, so for the next deck choices, we have the 3 returning choices as every week, which are going to be Lightsworns, Lyrilusk, and of course, Zombie World. Now for the 4th option, I kind of don't really know what I want to do, but I kind of just thought about it, and like I didn't know what I want to do until I like recorded this, but I thought about this for a few seconds, and then I kind of like wanted to do something that I enjoyed doing from time to time, bringing a deck that's a little bit less known or less popular, and that is Dual Avatar. I actually like this archetype a lot. I wish it got a little bit more support, although technically with DPE and stuff like that, it did get support because it's a fusion deck that can use this as a fusion engine, but you know what I mean. Now it's also more affordable for everyone, with fusion deployment being now cheaper. So if you want me to do that list as well, let me know in the comments down below, because I will be more than happy to revisit Dual Avatar. I think they're a very, very interesting archetype that have an interesting potential, but Konami decided to not support them that much. So the options are as following again. It's going to be either Zombie World, Lyrilusk, Lightsworns, or Dual Avatar. These are the 4 options that you have to choose for the next video. But that's pretty much does it for the video as a whole. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you do. And remember, creativity is the key in this game. Have a good day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.